Class is dismissed, boys and girls.
You're in. The zone!
Wake the up.
Saturday morning!
Previously on the YTV Retrospective.
Did you find a new host yet? Oh, I'm hungry.
Check this out. Everybody. Check it out.
Ah, glorious Saturday. A time of sugary cereals, pajama-wearing, day-wasting wackiness. I mean, what else were you supposed to do? Go outside?
Alright. Go along.
I would talk about the history of Saturday mornings, but we'd be here all day, as it was a mainstay of television for decades. However, in the 90s, it was a battleground between multiple different factions. The big three networks, down one because they gave up over FCC regulations, cable networks including two channels that were up-and-comers with big Saturday morning ideas, and children-oriented networks like YTV and Teletoon. In all of YTV's history, one of the most inconsistent things about it was the Saturday morning lineup. The inability to keep a format every few years or so. It wasn't as consistent in its format like its after-school older brother, but that doesn't mean it wasn't as valuable to the network. Let's start at the very beginning. Saturday mornings on YTV didn't get itself an identity until around 1993, when the zone was completing its evolution. This was Toontown Alley. This was the block on both Saturdays and Sundays that felt similar to how the after-school zone looked enacted, having the hosts PJ Ashna and usually one other host talk about many different topics. Along with them were the Grogs, the puppet helpers of the after-school zone. The set was very different to what has been seen before, having gates to what is known as Toontown Alley, and a large desk in the middle of it. Though there were minor changes that happened during its first year. The name was shortened to the Alley, probably seeing how the zone worked pretty well. Next, after Warren Grog's very short reign of YTV, the puppets were changed. This is the second group of puppets YTV had, the Fuzzpaws. I will talk about them next time, as I feel they worked better there. It was interesting seeing Fez and Foster helping out in this block. There were several shows that the Alley had like Mighty Max and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Headaches are an excellent source of iron. YTV's Brainwash!
The next block was created in 1995, and it was called YTV's Brainwash.
1896, we discovered that the brain is 90% water and 10% soap. After a century of research in brainology, here's our conclusion. YTV's Brainwash.
If the Alley was more like the after-school zone, Brainwash was similar to PJ Freshville's era of the zone, in which attitude was more involved. The set was more themed to that of a crazy-looking laundromat. And the block went all in on its theming, having contests like the Odd Sock of the Week, and having a band called Funkbin. I wonder if they did starting gigs for Nuclear Donkey. The host for this block was Ed Brainbin, played by Slime Master Sean Majumder, Carrie Funkwash, played by puppeteer Ali Eisner, and a Brain, played by Atul and Rao, the co-creator of the block, and a familiar face on the zone. A mix of syndication and newer series were part of this block's lineup, including Spider-Man, the animated series, X-Men, Earthworm Jim, Mighty Hercules, Bump in the Night, Sailor Moon, and Rugrats. In 1997, Sean left Brainwash and was replaced by Peter Oldering. Sadly though, the laundromat was not meant to last much longer.
Transmitted to you directly from orbit, YTV Snitch Station!
In 1999, the block went to space with the familiar face.
9 gazillion space miles, 49.5 intergalactic battles, and now he's coming home to protect the Earth from spam sandwiches?
Weekends will never be the same! Freaks!
Snit Station, every weekend starting September 18th.
Welcome to Snit Station, starring Snit, losing the bubblegum body and TV teeth to become more robotic. He did have a host alongside him with Stephanie Brochard. This block was created by Christine McGlade, who was the main host of a show at a young age called You Can't Do That on Television, and its attempt at a spin-off, Whatever Turns You On. And I think it sort of worked, but just didn't feel like the Snit that was in the zone. The reason for that was the perfect chemistry of PJ Freshville and Atala and Rao. They bounced off one another for ideas and worked very well in improv. Here, with Snit being the one getting into trouble and Stephanie being more of the comic foil, the hosting didn't gel as well. On Saturdays, the block would air then and new current shows such as SpongeBob SquarePants, Dragon Ball Z, Animaniacs, and Rugrats, while on Sundays would show more classic shows like Rocky and Bullwinkle, Pink Panther, and the Hanna-Barbera Library.
Vortex!
In 2001, Snit was sadly never seen again, and stayed in space. However, this next block may be a bit more down to earth. Vortex! No, not that one. Vortex was dedicated to action programs and was exclusive to Saturday mornings. The block was originally hosted by Stephanie Brochard until 2003, where she was replaced by the most well-known of the Vortex hosts, Paula Lemire. The set this time around was the most simplistic of the bunch, focusing on activity with rock climbing walls and ceiling-mounted hula hoops to sit on. Gone was the idea of a theme, creating characters, and crazy scenarios, and instead, just focused on presenting the shows. Vortex had multiple choice trivia during the host segments, or in between the shows, called Action Bits, asking questions about the program being viewed.
Darts has an evil plan up his sleeve. He wants to use the power of the God cards to destroy the world. But to do this, he'll need the soul of a duelist. Stay tuned.
Among the action-packed shows were Super Friends, Super Duper Sumos, The Mummy, based on the trilogy starring Brendan Fraser and not the one starring Tom Cruise, Beyblade, Metabots, at least 5 Transformers series, X-Men Evolution, and Teen Titans. But in its last airing started to feature shows not within the action genre like Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi. The block ended on June 24, 2006, after Lemire's departure. The week after Vortex was done, and a few months before its successor, there was an experiment that YTV would try in the summer of 2006. It was to bring the Zone to Saturday mornings.
Carlos, didn't you hear about Zone Summer Weekends?
Zone Summer Weekend?
Yeah, Zone Summer Weekends!
This version of the Zone, called the Zone Summer Weekends, is exactly the same as the after-school one, with the exception that it was played more than 2 hours of the day. The hosts at this point in time were Carlos Bustamante and Sugar Lynn Beard. As I said in my retrospective on the Zone, these two had perfect chemistry as hosts, and with shows like Captain Flamingo, Being Ian, Danny Phantom, and Crypto the Superdog, it had a solid block for a good 3 months. It might not have lasted long, but it did get YTV's curiosity going. After the Zone Summer Weekends was done, the kids protested a new holiday, and thus we were introduced to Crunch.
We now present the first Crunch commercial written and directed by AJ.
Tune in every Saturday morning for... Crunch!
This has been the last Crunch commercial written and directed by AJ.
Crunch, done in all caps, premiered on September 9th, 2006. From its beginning, it was hosted by AJ Fry, and oh my god! What is up with that hair? He looks like either the cheese strings guy, or he must have gone Super Saiyan 2. Yeah, they definitely played on the fact that AJ was weird.
Stay dressed up in your pajamas and eat up a crunchy breakfast. Watch holiday shows on Crunchmas, cause AJ is weird.
The theme of the new block was a new holiday called Day 6, where there was no homework, chores, or hobbies such as music classes, which could interrupt a kid's day during the block hours. Rather than having a host talk for a few minutes after the show, it was divided into two parts, one during the commercial break, and one during the credits. The block also featured digital on-screen graphics, those little watermarks on the corner of the TV you would see, which the Zone would soon use as well. Some of the shows during this block include League of Super Evil, Stormhawks, Wolverine and the X-Men, Back to the Barnyard, Kid vs. Cat, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Transformers Animated, and the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series. On October 4th, 2008, AJ would leave YTV and head to another channel called
Space!
to host a sci-fi talk show called Inner Space. Andy Chapman became the host for Crunch. However, late in the block's run, YTV began to air fewer shows in mini marathons, including SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, The Penguins of Madagascar, and Kung Fu Panda: Legends of Awesomeness. The block ended on September 28th, 2013. Which brings us to today. After Crunch ended, they decided to try and keep a solid foundation for a Saturday morning lineup. And the answer was pretty simple. Take the Zone and put it on Saturday morning. But this time, it lasted more than a summer. This is a situation where they basically said, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. The Zone Weekends is still a part of the channel to this day, with changing hosts and becoming the longest Saturday morning block on YTV. The two most recent hosts are Spencer Litzinger, and introduced in March of 2020, Alex Wiersbicki. Both of them have done a great job of helming the weekends while keeping Tyra exclusively to the weekdays, as she helped Spencer from time to time prior to Alex's introduction. With SpongeBob still going strong and having new shows such as The Loud House and Rise of the TMNT, YTV has finally found the right fit for Saturday morning. And it just so happens to be the same as after school. You know? It goes to show with these Saturday morning blocks that the more things change, the more they also stay the same. And I couldn't have it any other way. When we come back, we ask the question, what does your little brother or sister watch while you're at school? Or if you're at home with the common cold? The little ones have got a spot all their own.
Next time on the YTV Retrospective.
Check this out. Everybody. Check it out.
Hand it over.